Hello and welcome, everybody. This is your host, Ken D. Foster. This is a very, very important show today. And this is a show that I believe can change the way that you think about yourself, the way that you can think about health, your healing journey. A lot of people tune into this show because, you've got a lot of misdiagnoses, or you've been having chronic diseases. You just don't know what to do. What do you do next? And you're really wondering, you're searching for ways to be able to take your health and create vitality in your life. And I was talking to our guest who's going to be here in just a minute in the green room. My experience has been that we can pretty much heal anything depending on what stage you are. And even if you're at the last stages, you still have the possibility to heal. Okay. And, the body is kind of like a, what do I want to say? It's a tool. Like it's not who you are, but you have one. I have one. And it gives us signs of what needs to grow, evolve, change, develop. And when I'm thinking about that healing, I know that we must heal mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. It's a package, okay? So it's about expanding awareness. It's about getting on that journey and saying, you know what? I'm going to be brave. I'm going to find my courage. And I'm going to maybe buck what people have told me this is the way. And I'm going to tune into my own intuition. And I'm going to start following that inner voice and lead me to health, lead me to vitality, lead me to a place where we're feeling energized. Our energy's back. Our life is back. It's one thing about being ill. When you're ill, you feel like you'll always be ill. Okay? It's not true, but that's how we feel. And, when you're in that vibrational field of the sickness, okay, there are ways out. And sometimes it takes all you have, but that's okay. Because you got so much more within you than you can imagine. And I'm not here to be a minister or preacher to you. I'm here to give you the facts. The fact is, if you look at my little finger, I've said this before on other shows, in that little finger are atoms. If you split those atoms, there's enough energy in there to light up New York City. We all have that in us. We have the potential within us. It's about how do we take that potential now and manifest it in health and have a healthy, vital life. All right, I'm going to be right back. I'm going to have my guest with me, and then we're going to talk about how to heal it by finding your courage to be brave. We'll be right back.
Whether because of discomfort, lack of mobility, your lifestyle, or occupation, you sit inactively way too many hours a day. Introducing Ellipse, the premium quality automatic seated exerciser that strengthens legs, increases mobility, and boosts circulation without physical strain or impact.
It is so quiet that none of my coworkers even know I'm using it.
Strengthen and tone your legs, increase your mobility, flexibility, and balance. Plus, stimulate healthy circulation.
My joints feel better, my knees feel better, my back feels better. It makes me feel stronger too.
Perfect for home therapy. Whisper quiet to use while you work.
My circulation is moving, I'm burning calories, and it makes me feel energetic.
Call now and order Ellipse, the seated exerciser that strengthens legs, increases mobility, and boosts circulation. Call and get upgraded to the Deluxe Bundle. Get the faster motor or 5 miles of steps per hour, the step counter, the sport mat, and wireless remote. Call now.
Well, welcome back, everybody. This is your host, Ken D. Foster, and a very special guest today is Chloé Temtchine. Chloé, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Ken. Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy to have you here and have you share your story. You might be one of the bravest women I know on the planet, and
Oh my goodness. Thank you.
well, I've got some personal experience with what you've gone through, as we discussed in the green room, so I know what it takes. Well, I probably don't know all what it takes, but I know that you've been through a courageous path yourself. So, for those of you that don't know Chloe, she's an award-winning singer, songwriter, and speaker. In fact, a little later on in the show, you're going to get to hear a little of her music. She's the creator of Super Brave, a series spotlighting both kids and adults facing life's most difficult challenges. After 5 years of misdiagnosis, Chloe was finally diagnosed in March of 2013 with severe pulmonary hypertension and was given days to live. 7 years later, on August 5th, 2020, after suffering a cardiac heart arrest and being in a coma for 4 days and was on life support almost a month, Chloe received a life-saving double lung transplant. I'm going to stop there. You've got a lot more in your story, but wow, that's heavy.
No big deal,
That's no big deal.
No big deal.
Listen, if I'm going through something like a little cold or flu or what, this isn't what we're talking about here. We're talking about really a life-changing, death-defying experience. So can you share your journey that led you to Super Brave? Let's just talk about that,
Wow.
Book out there we're going to talk about, but what's that journey?
I mean, where to begin? It is a lot of what you said, but so much more, in terms of the beginning really being this misdiagnosis for 5 years, which we don't really think about, but can be so scary, for so many people who have symptoms. In my case, my symptoms mirrored so many other illnesses. So I was diagnosed with basically everything, hospitalized for basically everything, and then released, with, we don't know what you have. And
Right.
you do not have blood clots in the lung. You don't have an autoimmune, So I was left in the dark for a long time. And what that does is it sort of inspires you to take matters into your own hands because nobody knows what's happening. So that obviously led to a diagnosis 5 years later when I was so sick that there was no option other than a diagnosis. And that was not good. That was when I was given days to live. And that's a difficult thing, of course, to hear. A lot of what you said, I was listening to what you said. It's a lot of the belief system there, because I think when we believe what doctors are telling us, which is you are going to die, this is progressive, and you're hearing that from everyone, and those are trustworthy sources.
Yeah.
You have to believe something different, or I really do believe you could die. Your mind, and as you were saying, everything has to align. Everything has to align to a different future, to a different story, essentially. So I ended up at home. Everybody was scared of me because they basically didn't want to have me in the hospital. I was taking up a bed at that time. And they're like, she's not dying. She's, we don't know what to do with her. So let's send her home. Went home and decided with my partner at the time that we were going to go into this insane research mode. And I was going to look up pulmonary hypertension. Here's the tricky thing. Find someone that was alive and thriving and doing well that I could kind of, use to inspire me.
Right.
Now, so depressing, I can't even tell you. Everywhere I looked, it was death, progressive, no hope, no medicine will help you now, because I had something else called PVOD and I couldn't be medicated because of PVOD. So, or very, very little medication was okay for me because one hurts the other. So long story again, shortened, we decided to take matters into our own hands. I didn't exactly stray from the medical protocol, but I did go my own way. And that's a whole other story of what that became, which is these 5 principles that ultimately helped me rewrite my story and live a completely different life.
To those 5 principles,
Yes.
Just look back for a second at the health challenges and the transplant. What would you say are the moments that stood out for you that you went from impossible to possible? Where did that shift happen?
I think for me, it's very hard to pinpoint what that is, but I think it's essentially the will to live. I think that when you so desperately want to live, it becomes inconceivable that you will die. And so the question isn't so much, are you going to die or not? It's how. What are you going to do to live? And it just becomes a matter of how, not if.
Yeah. Well, I think that willpower is such an important piece of our healing. And I think there's human will, and then there's something like there's the survival will, human will, and then there's something that's called, I would call it divine will, where you seem to find this superpower that's within us, and you just do it, like the super research. You're like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
I don't know how we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it, and disappointment after disappointment comes, but you just keep going.
That's right. That's right. And as I say, I believe in God. How can you not? I mean, I always have, but after something like this, it's such a miracle. It's, people in our lives who didn't believe in God now do. It's sort of like, how can this happen? But it's very much work and faith for me, and the combination of the two is very powerful when you're going through something like this, or going through really anything in life.
Well, can you imagine if you had just went, okay, this is never going to work. I'm going to, doubt that I'll ever find anybody that's ever healed. I believe the doctors. I might as well just give up.
Yeah.
Where would you be?
Dead.
Right.
I mean, yeah, I mean, you can't. And my mission, when I didn't find that person, when I couldn't find someone to look up to, became to do everything I could to turn myself into that person. Because I thought, if those going through this could know that one person, just one, survived, was thriving, was living their life, that gives you so much power when you feel so powerless, which is, I think, what we feel when we're given such a scary diagnosis. We lose our control. So again, that became a mission. Now, it healed me to become that person, but I kind of created the person that I wanted to look up to, if that makes sense. Or tried to create some person,
That in itself is so inspiring. I think it's so many, because it's not about more information. I was saying about realization. So you had to say, well, you know what? If I can't find the person, I'm going to be the person. Realize that in my life, and I'm going to be the model, the one that others can follow. It's kind of like the fellow that broke the 1 minute mile, right? Broke the 1 minute mile until Roger Bannister had broke the 1 minute mile, and there a whole bunch
exactly
broke the 1 minute mile, right?
That's right.
So it's
That's right.
You're like, well, I'm going to break the barriers of how what I can do, how long, quote, the survival. Let's get rid of the word survival. It's how long I'm going to thrive, right? I'm going to have thriving mentality. I think it's that piece, right?
It absolutely is. And every time something worked, I was the tester. I would try food, I would try supplements, and anytime I had success, that's when I would relay the message. Just sort of sharing what I did, never telling anyone what to do, because this was not science based, or it was completely a personal experience. But I figured, if it's helping me, why wouldn't it help others? So that's when I became much louder online, when things started working. I was the guinea pig.
I love that. I got to take a break in a minute. But
okay.
I wanna. You are a singer, and you're a beautiful songwriter, and I'm wondering the journey that you've been on, how that's impacted your creative abilities and your artistry, and maybe one of the most profound songs that you've written, the one that you love that kind of meant the most. I want to talk about that when we get back.
Okay, great.
All right, we'll do that in just a minute.
Imagine this is your money and someone wants to take it from you. Who is it? The IRS. Guess what? They want your money and they can take it, all of it if they want. Remember, they sent you that letter right over here that said, hey, you owe us a bunch of cash and we're going to take it from you right now. So what do? You fight back by letting our team of experts work it out with the IRS so you can keep your money. And hey, we're good at what we do. When you hire us, you get a team of guys on your side that know the IRS laws, and we'll fight really hard to save your money. So, if you owe the IRS a ton of cash and you want to keep it, call right now and learn for free how we can help you put it back in your pocket. 5 minutes of your time right now can save you thousands of dollars. And the best part, it's a free call, so please call right now.
Well, welcome back, everybody. This is your host, Ken D. Foster. I'll be right back with my guest. Before I do, though, I want to encourage you to go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. If you subscribe today, you will be able to pass this show and other shows that we have on to those family members and friends that might really benefit from them. So you go to YouTube right now and subscribe. You can go to youtube.com at The Courage Network, youtube.com at The Courage Network, and subscribe to the show. And again, you'll be helping other people to thrive also. All righty. Chloé, welcome back. For those of you that don't know Chloé, I introduced her a little earlier, but she is a survivor of double lung transplant. She's also a singer-songwriter and so much more. She's one of the bravest people I know. We named the show Heal It. It was by the courage to be super brave. She also has a book out there, Being Super Brave. We'll talk about in a second. So Chloé, wow, what a journey. And
well, first of all, thank
Where
you.
do we go with you from here?
Such nice things you've said about me. Oh, there's so many places to go. I don't even know where to begin. We could go anywhere. We could go anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, where I want to go is mindset. That's where I want to go right now. There's a lot of people listening to the show and they're going, all right, how did Chloé find this strength to go on when it seemed hopeless? Right? How did you go? What were your thoughts? What were you thinking? Who supported
Well,
you?
I do have to say, your mind can go to very dark places, and it is not. I rearranged my brain. I essentially brainwashed myself into believing something other than what I was experiencing. So, whereas I was constantly bombarded with the thoughts of, you're going to die, I'm going to die, I would replace every single thought, and actually had a bell that my grandmother had given me. And every time one of those thoughts would enter my brain, you're going to die, I would ring that bell. And I would replace the thought with, I'm going to live. And these are the ways that I'm going to live. I'm going to live. And I would visualize myself running on a beach. Here I am with an oxygen tank. My face is out to here from prednisone. I've got acne everywhere from prednisone. I can't breathe, and I'm visualizing running on a beach. So I would say it's not necessarily that easy to remove a thought, but it is much easier to replace a thought. So whatever thought resonates with you that represents a future, again, when you're being told you don't have one, would be the easiest way to convey how to retrain your brain. I also watched a movie called The Secret. Now, I used to make fun of The Secret. I was like, The Secret, it's one of those movies about, everything that people believe, and I don't know if I believe any of that. When I wasn't well, let me tell you how many times I watched that movie, because every day you go back to what you go back to that thought process of, oh my God, I'm going to die. Oh my God. And so it's constant retraining, constant bell ringing, which then would be less and less because you're retraining your brain to believe something different. Now, I didn't see any improvement for years. And I had worked on everything. I mean, food, as I say, I was basically eating kale for 12 years straight, but no improvement for a long time. So that belief has to remain very strong when you don't see improvement. And after about 2.5, my timing is really awful, but let's say 2.5 years, all of a sudden, slight improvement. And that is so huge because that just gives you that thing that you need to obviously to keep going. But you have to be able to see it even when you're not getting it, if that makes sense.
In hindsight, where do you think that first little improvement, how did that happen? Can you
yeah.
that? And
Well, I remember the moment, if that's what you mean. We were walking to a doctor actually, and I was in a store because we were early. And my doctor called and said, "We have some news for you." I'm like, "Oh my God." Every time they called me, I thought it was the end of my life. So I was like, "Oh no, what's the news?" So she said, "Your pulmonary pressures," which for context, pulmonary pressures for anyone normal, with relatively good health, their pressures are under 25. Severe pulmonary hypertension is around 60. And my pressures for context were at 180. So I was basically a walking corpse. Nobody understood why I was alive. Made no sense. And they called me and they said, "Your pressures are at 90. Now, 90 is horrible, right? But for me, imagine it was at 180, right? So I'm just screaming in the store. I'm like, "Oh my," and they're telling me this is not really, great news. And I'm like, "Are you kidding me? This is the best news you could ever give me." So that little, I will never forget that moment, but I was like, all I need to know is it's heading in the right direction. And I just, again, it was so inspiring to hear that. And it meant that it was, and that what I was doing was helping. And I continued, of course, to do what I was doing, which involved a lot, which involved food, mindset, exercise, quality time with people I love, and creative expression, which was a huge one for me.
Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to ask you about the music, and
Yes.
I think we're probably going to insert some music here in just a minute. But that one song or songs that you wrote during that time that had a lot of meaning for you, can you share a little bit about that?
Yes, I would say, there's so many, it's like picking from your babies, but I would say "You Save Me" is a song that I wrote to God above and very, very meaningful to me at the time. And music has always been how I process what I feel. So it's been there for me. It's my therapy. It's gotten me through everything, I would say. And now what's wonderful is that I can use music to convey the messages that I would like to convey, which are, I hope, hopeful messages. And now I'm currently working on an album for my donor, which is this incredibly mysterious person who saved my life by giving me lungs. And so again, it's been a way for me to really express myself that's much more comfortable even than with words in this sort of setting.
Do you know the person that saved you?
I don't. I have no idea who it is. I wrote the family, which you're allowed to do, and they wait a year and then they send the letter to the family. But I have no idea. I've never heard back, which, maybe that's okay.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah. I have.
so
Well, no, I know, but some people keep going, and I didn't keep going because I thought that's okay. It's,
sometimes when people have they had reports of feeling that other person's energy or hearing thoughts of that other person or anything like that. Has that ever happened to you with the transplant?
I have felt so much that I have been so inspired is what I can really say.
Yeah.
By this human being. I've written an album. I know that it's a woman. I did spend 3 years thinking it was a man, and that's another story for another interview. But I then found out it's a woman who's just, you have such little information that you're allowed to, I don't know the name. I'm not given a name. So but I'm working on a film. I'm working on music for this person. It's inspired so much in me that it's like I feel like I'm living for two people,
Yeah.
and it's a pretty crazy feeling.
Yeah. You have a different point of view than I think most people that have gone through slight illness or even chronic illness, because you've been through a life-changing illness. For those of my audience that might be listening to this or know somebody that's listening to this, what words of hope or inspiration would you give them?
Well, I would definitely start with what you said, which is the impossible can become possible. That is no question. In my situation, it was one of the more impossible things. Not just because I had pulmonary hypertension, but something called pulmonary Veno occlusive disease, which has a 1-year life expectancy. And it is not possible to survive that. So I just want to say that in fact it is. I say as long as we're breathing, there's hope. Yeah. I would also say that something that has really helped me is one line that I have drawn in my house. It's like a poster that I look at all the time. And it says, "What if everything goes right?" And I think it's a wonderful way to think, because we're constantly with, oh my God, it's going to go, what if it goes wrong? So to replace that again with the thought that it may all just go right. So how would you like to live if it all went right has been very helpful. Just the other day, I was thinking, we're out in this beautiful desert, and I was looking around saying, wow, I wish I could have told myself then that things would be so unbelievably wonderful. And when we're going through such a hard time, it's so difficult to see that things may turn out really well. This is in line with my statement, but to just believe that it is possible, because it is so possible.
Yeah.
It's so possible.
How, I have a friend of mine that he was in his early 20s, and the doctors told him that he wouldn't live. He had several diseases, and at one point he said to me, I said, well, what changed? He says, well, I started to believe the doctors. They told me I wasn't going to live. He says, well, I understand what they're saying. Really, they're saying, I don't know how to cure you.
Right.
So he said, as soon as he got that, that doctor doesn't know how to cure me.
Exactly.
He said, then everything shifted. He said, then I went out. I said, okay, I'm going to find the people that can help me, that know what they're doing, that, and he explored energy medicine. He explored acupuncture. He explored mindful medicine. He explored neuroscience and epigenetics. He just, and today he's got a whole program around there. Right?
Amazing.
But
amazing.
That was his premise. I believe you. You tell me you're going to die. You don't. All you're telling me is you don't know how to heal. That's it.
That's right. That's right. And it sort of equates to me like writing a song, where a song, it's a matter of finding all the pieces. It's not a matter of whether you're going to write the song or not. You just have to find those pieces. So it's not, it's how you're going to do it. It's not if you're going to do it. You will finish the song at some point. So again, it becomes that psychology of, how am I going to do this? How? You know what I mean?
And isn't that where the courage kicks in? Because without the courage, it's like, courage, when I define courage, it's a feeling, it's a energy, it's a power within us, but it doesn't seem to show up until we go, I'm going to take that step. I'm going to go do that. That's when it starts to kick in. That's when creativity opens up. Is that
when you need it? Yes, I think I haven't really thought through a lot. I just reacted, and I think that when you're being told something that's so scary, you can go either way. You can believe it, or you can say, actually, wait a second, what if they're wrong, right? So I haven't spent a lot of time, believe it or not, even though it's been years, processing that. I've just been so grateful to be alive that I'm like, this is amazing, But I think you kick into a mode of survival, and that's when you can see that the power, first of all, that we have in our mind is insane. It's otherworldly what we can do with our brain, and when I started thinking about, for example, paralysis, right? And you think that someone can't move their leg, but it's because their mind isn't telling the leg to work, right? It's not the leg. So the power, right? And I tend to think a lot about, psychosomatic illness and the fact that we can create our own illness. And I think that's very empowering to think that we could have allowed something into our life that's not so good, because it also means we are powerful enough to heal it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it blows me away, and I'm going to take a commercial and come back. But you're a singer and a songwriter, singer, and you've got a double lung transplant. And I'm thinking, hey, how does that happen? How does that really work? And I want to talk to you a little bit about that when we get back. So we'll do that. And also, you have your book out. We want to cover your book.
No book. I might have confused you. I heard you say that a few times. I thought,
well, you know what? I'm just tuning into your future. That's all. You got a future book coming.
I was going to say, maybe I do have one. I just don't know about it yet, Yeah.
We'll have to talk about that.
Perfect.
All right. Well, okay. Yeah, I was thinking you had one, but that's right. You got the music, and we're playing the music. Okay. All right. Well, we'll be right back, and we'll explore this story a little more.
Hi, everyone watching at home. We're here to remind you that if you or someone you know were injured in an accident that was not your fault, listen up. We have live agents available right now to answer your questions and tell you how much your case is potentially worth. Hi, I'm Gina Bellich, here with spokesman and TV personality Tom Mustin with us in the Help Center. So Tom, phones are really busy over there. Tell us what kind of calls you're seeing.
Well, Gina, first off, thank you for having me here in the call center with you. We always enjoy talking to the viewers and getting folks the compensation that they deserve. You know, we're seeing calls about all kinds of accidents, but the most common by far has been car accidents. So if you or someone you know were injured in an accident that was not your fault, give us a call right now. You'll speak with a live person. They'll answer any questions you have and tell you if you have a case and how much your case is potentially worth.
Thanks, Tom. All right, folks at home, you heard it. Take advantage of this opportunity and call now.
Hi, folks. Joe Namath here. Did you know that I wear hearing aids? I love my hearing aids, and I am here to help you get a deal on the same brand I wear.
Don't waste thousands on expensive hearing aids when you can get MD Hearing's revolutionary Neo hearing aids for just $297 a pair. The Neo is a true hearing aid, not an amplifier. With rechargeable technology many customers say is superior to more expensive models. And you can get 2 Neo hearing aids with a 45-day risk-free trial, free shipping, and free lifetime US-based support for only $297. The Neo is nearly invisible with its tiny in-the-ear canal design.
Call my friends at MD Hearing and get the over-the-counter hearing aids that I use for you.
Call now and get not 1 but 2 Neo hearing aids for just $297.
800-789-7885. Again, that's 800-789-7885.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm talking with Chloé Temtchine. We're calling this show the Heal It by having the courage to be super brave. A singer who has, I'm reading here, you had at one point vocal cord paralysis. That had to be a little challenging.
No, totally fine. Along with everything else, you know. Yes, it has been challenging. So I have a permanent vocal cord paralysis. It's been that way for a long time. I've had multiple surgeries, which you can see actually right here. It's actually visible online. So that has been quite challenging, and in fact, more challenging, the paralysis, than the new lungs. And I say I'm singing with someone else's lungs right now. So it is wonderful to be able to breathe. I can't even tell you. I had no idea how lucky I was to be able to breathe before all of this happened. Sounds so simple, but when you lose your breath, you realize how important that is. And the paralysis is what has made it most difficult, especially since I love to be, quote, I like it to sound as perfect as it can, right? So one of the lessons I think I've had to learn is really how to do what I can with what I have every step of the way, because you can just turn off. I mean, I have sounded so awful. I have a voice that's extremely unpredictable. I now sound like Barry White, which I joke about, but I have like a man voice, So it's dropped like 25 octaves. But my voice has shifted so much over the years. I've had to sing in a whisper with complete paralysis. I've had to sing without breathing. I've had to sing with my first implant, which I've had my second implant. They now overclosed my vocal cords to protect my lungs, because you can aspirate food and liquid when you have paralysis. So I've had to kind of relearn how to sing many times, yeah.
Girl, where do you find this courage? Where is your courage? I mean, when you just stop and you quit quiet, and you're in, you're with yourself, and and everything that's gone on in your world, where does that braveness come in you? Where does that come from?
Well, that's a very interesting question, and thank you for saying that. I don't think I've ever thought about that. I feel like I love what I do so much. I love writing music. I feel like I've been given such an incredible gift that it's like, not only do I love what I'm doing, but there's an element of, I want to be able to do as much as I can with this gift. So I feel so compelled, instead of saying to myself, oh my God, I sound so horrible. I'm like, no, you have a duty to convey a message and to make something good out of something that really is not very good. If you look at it, it's really a miserable, hellish experience. If I'm really, it's like a nightmare, right? But it's also a miracle. And so
Yeah.
to turn something bad into something good, I think maybe is at the source of some of this, because it makes you feel like it was all for something. You know what I mean? And I can write about it and I can share it and I can make it so that someone else doesn't have to feel hopeless. I can make it so that someone else can see that it's possible. I can make, and it all is in my words and my songs and my speeches. It's all one thing, and it's a message of hope is what I like to say, which sounds so simple, but so important when you lose hope, so important. So
Yeah, so important. And, life is chiefly service. So, your service is commendable. You're the way that you show up and you're there for others with an inspiring message of hope, of courage, of, stepping into the unknown and not giving up, right? Just continue to move forward in spite of, I would say, probably I was going to say in spite of fear, but I think you've overcome a lot of fears to be able to be who you've become. Is that be accurate? Or?
Yeah, there's a lot of fear there, but I choose not to live my life that way because it's unpleasant, is the very simplified version. I also feel like, I mean, this is going to make me sound like I'm, from another world, but a lot of wonderful children, which is part of what Super Brave is, Super Brave kids.
Yeah.
Who are, I believe, angels in my life, who have died as a result of pulmonary hypertension. And I feel like I take them with me and I feel like they bring me strength.
Yeah.
So, it's a deep feeling that I'm not alone in this. I have my donor. I have these wonderful angels who are with me, one of whom is named Humaira Bodanya, who's the reason I created my foundation. So they've all brought so much inspiration into my life.
Yeah.
And they're all with me. So, I'm kind of this feeling of coming back to life after having died, basically. You realize how lucky you are to be here. And I don't take that lightly.
Tell me a little bit about your foundation that you started.
Well, again, so this was inspired by an 8-year-old child, Humaira, who died of pulmonary hypertension. And she was very close. We didn't know each other very well, but we were spiritually connected. And I wanted to create a tour called the Smile Tour, which I did. And I went around to different hospitals and performed for kids in hospitals and then would talk to them. And it's like talking to 90-year-olds who know absolutely everything about life. And they're 6 or 8. And you can't believe it. So I thought, wow, I need to interview these kids. And, you think it's going to be depressing because it's kids who are sick and who are going through really challenging times. It is the opposite of depressing. It is so uplifting. The gratitude that these kids have at that age is unlike anything I've known. The smiles, just the consciousness of life and death and challenge and how to overcome and how to be strong. And I thought, all right, this is called Super Brave Kids. And I will now do an interview series with these children because these stories have to be told. So a lot of this, now, again, my foundation, just to put it simply, it funds endeavors that bring awareness to pulmonary hypertension, to the importance of organ donation, and essentially brings hope to those in need. So any projects are in need.
How do people find your organization? Where is it?
It's called the Chloé Temtchine Foundation.org. So it's my very confusing name, the Chloé Temtchine Foundation.org.
Okay. Very good. And that is the name of your book. It's called Super Brave, and it's stories from children that have been super brave, and yourself. I see that coming into the world.
Okay, well, there you go. I was just going to say, maybe you just created the book. Thanks, Ken. I'll send you 50% of the royalty.
Yeah, well, you don't need to do that, but you do need to write the book because it'll help get the word out about the organization. It'll also give inspiration, hope, and to those children, and it'll also bring smiles to their parents. They're memorialized in a beautiful book that their story has been told. Their story has been told, just like you're telling your story. Their story needs to be told, And it's really a story, like you just said, of hope, of courage, of love. And we all need that in this world. So I hope you write the book. And if you need any help with it, you let me know.
Thank you.
I'll support you with that. 100%.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Well, yeah, of course, that book needs to be out in the world. Music helps us heal. Books help us heal. Love helps us heal. What's next for Chloé? Outside of the book.
Oh, exactly. That's it. That's next. I'm currently working on my speech because that has changed many times. And it is now conveying my current perspective on life. So there's an album in the works. There's a speech in the works. There's a short film in the works, which is all centered around bringing awareness to organ donation, to the importance of organ donation. And goodness, it just never stops. But those are sort of my main things. Again, centered around my message. Everything's centered around my message. Performances. I mean, I'm constantly doing something new that's creative, that is serving that purpose.
From I don't usually ask guests this, but I'm going to ask you from kind of a purely intuitive, spiritual point of view. What's changed for you?
Absolutely everything. My entire perspective on life. My entire perspective. So I see everything very differently. I would say the amount of gratitude that I feel is on another level. I'm very conscious of time, which can be scary, but also such a blessing. And I think I'm only speaking for myself, but I wasn't conscious. We think we're immortal somehow. We forget that at some point we'll die, right?
The body will die.
And so,
but we are.
Well, the body will die. And it's fun to be in the body. You know what I mean? I'm having a great time. I don't want to go anywhere. But the memory that you're lucky and I just wrote a poem of all things, sort of a spoken word poem about how lucky we are just to be alive and doing all of these things. And it's not so much about all the things we want to achieve, even though those are wonderful, but it's just to breathe and just to be here, to maximize the moments of life. That's a huge one. And I say to have fun in a grocery store, because grocery stores, of all places, are where we spend a lot of our lifetime. And don't just have fun when you plan to go have fun. Enjoy the experience of life, because that is your life, and that's where we spend the majority of our time. So ultimately, an incredible gratitude, a perspective that reminds me that when things happen, they're really not that serious, unless it's involving life and death of us, of anyone we love, health. Aside from all of those things, it's really not that serious. So my sense of humor, which I've had my entire life, is definitely kicked in even more so now. I don't take many things all that seriously.
I love that. I think if that's the one message that everybody takes away, don't take life so seriously. Have more fun in your life. Change lives right there. I believe that that's where healing starts, by the way. It starts with bringing some joy and happiness into our lives. And you can't do it for yourself. Go give it away. Find somebody that you can give it to. Just like Chloé did today. You gave it to a whole bunch of people here today, Chloé. So thank you for being here. It's been a wonderful interview.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you. And the one thing, I mean, I know this is probably over. I just thought while I was in the hospital, I remembered to tell myself that it's so much about how we do things versus what we do, and the how is essentially how we will have spent our life. That's it.
Right. Well, that's a wrap. Thank you again, Chloé, for being here.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you for having me.
Oh, of course. It was my pleasure. Thank you, all of you, for joining us today. We hope that you will, of course, go out there and let your family and friends know about this show. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and continue to search for your own healing modalities. Remember, you can heal just about anything if you change your mind, change your actions, step into courage. You'll get there. Till next time.